did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomic's veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Stew, and her name is Minerva Oaks. She's the flower of the flower coach.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
You know, I had a list, and now I can't find it. A list of what, oh, there it is. Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. It's time for Aaron Live. As you can see, I'm never really prepared to do this, but I'm always here, and you can count on that. It is October 5th, 2025, which means we are closing in on the end of yet another year, and we're all going to be another year older. For some of us, that's a little bit more imposing than for others. So I take it all in stride. It's where I'm at in life now. I can't escape it. But you can tell that the seasons are changing. I've switched from baseball cap to beanie because it's getting a little cold outside. I mean, not really cold, but kind of cold. And when you got nothing up here, and I mean, I don't mean brains, which of course you could argue that as well. I got no hair up here, so I need warmth. This is key, keeping this covered. And so we're switching to the beanie probably for the rest of the year, and then it probably into the new year until it warms up again. But anyway, these are unimportant, uninteresting things that I'm talking about. And let's move on to something more interesting and hopefully a tad bit more entertaining. I got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Everybody's probably wants to know, okay, what's the latest on Wraith of God? We'll get into that later. We have all sorts of good things and stuff, but I can't do the show without you guys. So let's take a look and see who is joining us so far today. We have Stealth X5 is the first guy in the house today. How about that? Welcome, Stealth, and appreciate you being here. Glitch, all the way from across the pond, says, hey, I'll always love to see a good Sentinel cover, but I don't think anything can beat his Phoenix cover for X-Men 101. We will find out. Of course, he's talking about Dave Cockrum. There's Creative Faye. JS is here. Past Master Dan, reminding everybody to back Wraith of God 3 Fear Hollow, as that book is done and will be closing soon. The only delay really on closing out has been two things: what night to do it on, and I'm still waiting for the last of the colored pages to come in. But I'm working around that so that when those colored pages come in, bam, I go right to my designer and then to the printer, hopefully a couple days after that. So not to put any pressure on Jason. I don't want him to, to hack through anything. I just want him to do a good job and get it to me when he gets it to me, which I assume will be very, very soon. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada. Randy Howell says, baseball or Aaron? Why not both? That's what I say. Baseball is a very slow-moving game. It allows you time to listen to my ridiculous rhetoric while not missing much action over here. So Unhinged says, I don't always get to watch, but I'm always here, and I appreciate that, Unhinged. Repairman Jack is joining us. Says, Big Red looking good this weekend. Best wishes to Shelly. Thank you for that. And yes, the Big Red continue, although to some degree unorthodox ways of winning games, but they're winning them, and that's all I care about. Pantheon is here. Iodine 74 says, I'm late, but apparently not late. No, if you were here at 3:10, you're not late. But did I put 3 o'clock on the thing? I may have put 3 o'clock on the thing instead of 3:30. I don't think I did. I always start at 3:30 unless I don't. Let's see what this says. Let's see. Okay. So I have. Yeah, sorry about that. I did put 3 on there instead of 3:30. So joke's on me and you, apparently. Sorry about that. I won't do that again unless I do it again. Michelle Bowers is here. She is loaded up with sword in hand and ready for some action. Hung Kong Fu. He says, I hope Aaron would give his thoughts on Richard Corbin's work. It's funny that you would say Hung would be your first name talking about Richard Corbin's work. I should review Corbin's work. Corbin did not do a lot of covers, so I can't really, you know what I could do? I could put him in my illustrators section and we could look at his stuff. If I can find any that's appropriate for family viewing. But I always thought Corbin's stuff was crazy interesting. I wasn't always a fan of it. Sometimes I was. But I mean, I liked his technique. His drawing, though, was always sort of, I don't want to say it was out there, but kind of like Bisley, right? Some people really like Bisley, and some people don't. I would say Bisley and Corbin are sort of in that same ballpark of really sort of exaggerated, intense figure work and things like that. But yeah, maybe I will take a look at him as an illustrator. Good suggestion. Thank you for that. Quote the Raven, Louis Brightman. Wait, was Shelly really? Shelly could come back at any time. So she's never off the show. She's just on hiatus and will come back whenever, you know. So I don't want to keep changing the title card. So I just leave it because she is an important part of the show, even though she hasn't been with us for a few months. Marcus Killigrew is here, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge. He's driving back from South Carolina Con Jr. South Carolina Con Jr. I was hanging out with Andy and artist Rich Stanky. Andy goes to a lot of shows, you know, on the East Coast. I do not go to a lot of shows on the West Coast. I do some. And I may be doing another one in Washington. I got invited to the Bellingham show October 18th and 19th. And of course, this is put on by the SummerCon people, Washington State SummerCon. And they invite you. And then you'll say, yeah, I'll come. And you don't hear anything back. And you don't hear anything until like days before the show. And it's just, so I'm assuming I'll be there and probably will be, but I won't, I probably won't get confirmation from them until like the day before I'm supposed to leave for the show. So Paul Taylor's here all the way from Canada. He is, of course, our resident biologist. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 Bigfoot videos. Well, 5 Bigfoots, 4 Bigfoots, an alien, and a perhaps a Dogman video today. So we've got a lot of stuff that we'll get to later in the show. Randy Howell pointing out there's only $13,719 from 100K on Wraith of God Fear Hollow. Yeah, that seems like a long way to go in a very short period of time. And it kind of puts me in a bad position now, because if we actually do hit 100, David Williams' backup story that was the stretch goal for 100 is not done, because it did not appear and does not appear that we're going to get to 100 on this one. So I didn't have the extra resources to pay him to continue working on it. Because originally when it came out with Wraith of God 3, I thought we'd hit 100 pretty quickly, because that's what we've done in the last 2 campaigns. Didn't happen. So if we were to hit 100, I would have to either put it before you guys if you'd want to wait a couple months more to get the book so that he could finish that story and we could add it to or if I would just take it and add it to the next project, the next Wraith of God project, as an already done story. So that'll be something you guys can think about if we hit that magic number. Okay, let's see here. Unintelligent Design is joining us. Best Age Comics says, hey, Aaron, finally, the underappreciated Dave Cockrum. You know, well, I was going to say I wasn't going to do Dave Cockrum, and then I started looking at his covers, and I was like, he's got several iconic covers. I probably should do Dave Cockrum. Gary Bruce is here. How about that? There's Stealth with his always generous $2 hello for every show. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate that very much. Stealth, of course, is a big art collector and a big supporter of all of our shows, and we greatly appreciate it. Paul Taylor first discovered Dave Cockrum on his Legion of Superheroes run. I think I first discovered Dave Cockrum on John Carter of Mars #1. He did the cover and the interiors. Pardon me, Gil Kane did the interiors, but Dave inked him. And then Dave left, and Rudy Nebre started inking Gil on that. So I don't know what the moral of the story is there. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Rand Arrington joining us. Rand, your artwork is in the mail as of Friday. Matthew Muma is joining us. David Blinn, I had posted up X-Men 101 cover for you, Hall of Fame for Cockrum. Pretty legendary stuff, yes. Creative Faces, are those new books stacked behind you? No, those are... I'm absolutely out of shelf space in my studio, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 bookshelves, 6 bookshelves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bookshelves in here. Bookcases, not shelves, and they're all full. And so that's like stuff I'm getting rid of up there. Not the Jaws thing that's sitting up there. I never get rid of anything with Jaws on it, but those books under there are like, I don't even know what some of them are. But I've had them forever. I never crack them open. So I'm like, need to get rid of those. Make a little more room for new stuff. Brexy the Great is here. Now, let's see. Spaceman joining us. Groku. Okay. I think I got everybody. Pack Rat Aaron, just like me, comes in handy on occasion. Paul Taylor's right. Well, that's the thing. You always keep everything and you never need it. And then as soon as you throw it away, you're like, where are those 2x4s that I threw away? It happens all the time. Ed Murray's here. Headless Bourgeoisie just jumped in. SXS joining us. And Creative Face says, I have a book addiction. Yeah, well, so do I. Clearly, just from what you can see behind me, you can see all these books. And that's not even a third of the books that I have in here. So Corum's, I have been thinking about that. Doing a garage sale. Again, I haven't done one. It was supposed to be the first annual garage sale, but maybe I'll make it biannual and do it like every 6 months, which means I'm due for one pretty soon. I know Gary Martin's got more junk he wants to get rid of. I might do that very soon, actually. Will Holloway's jumping in here. Everybody's kind of, actually, they're probably coming in on time. Everybody thought I was going to be going at 3 because I misadvertised, which I greatly apologize for. Although the start time, it may on the placard, the card there, it says 3 o'clock, but the start time on YouTube is 3:30. So, do with that what you will. Okay, so my daughter and I went to the farmer's market in Beaverton, Oregon, which we do fairly regularly, semi-regularly, in the summer. But we found out it goes all the way to Thanksgiving. So we were there, and it was a little bit colder. The fall harvest was coming in, so people had pumpkins and squash and things like that. It was very harvest party kind of feel to it. But I just go there for the food. And so I did pick something up that I'm going to share with you right now, as soon as I can find my little intro. There it is.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Okay, do you guys know what baklava is? It's a Greek dessert that's incredibly rich because it usually has, it's like multiple layers of really super thin pastry. And it's got like usually like honey in between like every layer. And sometimes there'll be nuts in there like pistachios and things. And it's super rich. So you can't like eat too much of it at one sitting. Well, these guys had a little booth there. That's Luxury Bites, Bite into Bliss. And of course, being the chocolate crazed fanatic that I am, I did not get the regular baklava. I got the chocolate flavored. So we're going to give this a try here. Now it's very crumbly because it's got like a million layers of this like pastry, super thin pastry dough. So here we go. Let's see what it tastes like. That's pretty good. Now, I'll admit, it's not worth the $10 that I spent on it, but anytime you go to one of these places with booths, like whether it's a craft fair or a food fair or a combination of those, you're going to pay a little bit more for these boutique-y dessert things. And gosh darn it, I'm glad to do it. To support our entrepreneurs, no matter where or whatever market they're in, I'm there for you. So I did get that, and some other things that have already been consumed, of course. But a good time was had by all, and there is my $10 baklava. Marcus Killigrew, who knows everything, says that's called phyllo dough. See, I didn't know that. JS says flaky. It's extremely flaky. David Brohawk Williams in the chat says baklava is already sweet enough. You had chocolate cheese. Well, I think that I can't really argue with him. Yeah, it's over the top, but it's still chocolate. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here, and he's here with $5, which makes me appreciate him even more. My friend at work is from Turkey. She makes me homemade baklava. So is it Turkish or is it Greek? I guess it's Turkish, right? Unless there's Turks living in Greece and then they make it, then I guess it's, David giving me the correct pronunciation, phyllo dough. Phyllo dough. Okay. Whatever. Now, see, they're saying it's Greek. I don't know. What does Paul say? Sweetness counteracts the inherent grumpiness. I'd blow you up for that, but it's true. Yeah, it's pronounced phyllo. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pork Hunt is saying, Aaron really committed to that weight loss with chocolate baklava. Okay, well, here's the thing. I started working out again, but I have not changed my diet. So in the 6 months that I've been working out regularly, I've gotten, more in shape, arms, chest, gut has not changed. So I'm a little bigger up here again, like I used to be, but I'm bigger down here like I'm not used to be. So really what I need to do is correct my diet, but well, we'll see if that happens. I keep telling myself I'm going to do it. Headless Bourgeoisie says, isn't turkey pretty much grease with a beard? I like that. There you go. Paul Taylor educating us. Turkey and Greece are right beside one another and have fought lots of wars like over the island of Cyprus. Did they ever fight over baklava, though? I don't know. Probably mispronouncing that, right, David? Okay. Anyway, that's pretty good stuff. But see, maybe David and I should have like a challenge where so you can lose our guts the fastest. Now, because I'm 6'2", I do carry my gut better than most people do, but I am about 15 pounds overweight, and I would like to change that. But you know what's lean, just lean mass and pure energy, is the work of Frank Frazetta. So let's take a look at what Frank has to offer us this week. I think I actually do have that book over there. I love that cover. I love that painting, as simple as it is, because I love cavemen. And I'm not proponent of, you guys know me, obviously. I'm not a proponent of evolution at all. But there used to be this TV show when I was a kid in the 70s called Primal Man. And it was like these adventures of these ape men. You know, it was kind of like a National Geographic kind of thing, but it was like a dramatization, not like where they had lines and stuff, but you know, not like Quest for Fire, but it was like they'd have a narrator, like a National Geographic type narrator guy, and we'd watch the adventures of these cavemen, these monkey men, and I used to think they were so cool looking. And even though I didn't believe what I was being told, I still found it fascinating because to me, they're kind of like sort of semi like monster men, you know, the big old thick Hulk brow, you know, and the kind of the partial monkey face. So I'm a big fan of like these sort of depictions of cavemen, and Frazetta did a few of those. And this is like one of my favorites, even though they're not really cavemen. They're supposed to be barbarians, right? Bran MacMorn was a barbarian who lived at the same time, I guess, as sometime during the Roman Empire, before they sacked the Roman Empire. But his depiction of them is like these sort of, you know, monkey cavemen, and it was awesome. So anyway, I find it highly entertaining. Again, there's not a lot going on in the painting, but just the monkeyness of it all, Planet of the Apes vibe, I really dig. Spaceman says, eat less, move more. It does work. I know. Well, part of my workout regimen is I do 2 miles on the treadmill before I work out, before I lift. And then I go and I walk the dog when I get back another mile. So that's 3 miles every day that I work out, which is sometimes 5 days a week, sometimes 3. Lately, it's been 3 because of doctor's appointments and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Clan of the Cave Bear. Never read it, never saw the movie, but I heard the movie was laughably bad. There's Hung Kung Fu giving me the same work. I'm doing it. I don't know. I really don't eat heavy breakfast, and we've really kind of cut out bread. I don't really have bread that much. I used to eat sandwiches all the time. I don't. I just sort of eat meat and cheese, and then dinner is fair game. But And I've been like on a yogurt kick, Greek yogurt kick for breakfast with fruit in it, and then if I eat something for breakfast, it's usually eggs and either sausage or bacon, which again are all just sort of fats and proteins, right? It's the carbs you got to get rid of, right? So I seem like I've been cutting way back on carbs, but what I haven't been cutting back on is sugar. And that's kind of, I think, sort of counterbalancing all that and keeping me nice and robust down here when I don't need to be. Randy House says the only monkey man we need is Merv the Astro Chimp. I love that. Look at Marcus. That's what I'm doing. So I'm really surprised at myself for not losing weight. But again, sugary treats, every once in a while, donuts or something like that just destroys everything. And I have not cured myself of that yet. Intermittent fasting, I've done that as well. I know how to do it. I know how to lose weight. I just have not been disciplined enough to actually do it. I've been disciplined enough to go in and work out, but I have not been disciplined enough to actually affect my diet in a positive way. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? We keep at it. And I got to look at my list here to see what's next. Okay. So I think it's time this is not only going to be a commercial break, but it's also going to be a explanation and update of what's going on with everybody's favorite about to close campaign, Wraith of God 3. If you're hollow, there it is. So I had somebody, I won't say who, but someone did like a little pre-reading of this. And they said to me, this is your best one yet. And this is someone that I don't think would say that just to be nice. It wasn't prompted at all. In fact, I wasn't even soliciting an opinion. So I was thrilled to hear that, because as a writer, I'm always concerned, if the story's coming off well. I've been doing artwork long enough that if people don't like my artwork, I can take the criticism because I've been getting it my whole life in that area. Writing, I haven't done as much of. And so I haven't been beaten down by that sucks. You're a crappy writer yet. So I'm still probably more sensitive to that than I should be. But so I heard this, and it kind of gave me a relief, because every time I write one of these, I'm scared to death that I blew it, because the Wraith is a really complex character. Esther is a little bit more straightforward. She's just, a Bible believing Christian. And, I understand that concept really, really well, clearly, from experience. But the Wraith is way more complex than that. And so it's like, you want him to be consistent with who he is, but I don't really want to tell you guys who he is all the way, because once that's revealed, then, part of the mystery and the fun of the character is diminished. So you've got to kind of like let it come out a little bit at a time, giving you guys, bits of information that keep him interesting, keep you intrigued without giving up everything at this point, which will not be given up until the final issue, whenever that may be. And so this is, it is mentally fatiguing writing this character, this book, because there's so much layering going on, or at least is what I'm attempting to do with it. And so to get a positive feedback like that unsolicited was, anyway. So, but I thought I felt pretty good about it when I wrapped it up. And so hopefully you guys will as well when you get it. So that's the next question. When do you get this? Well, we are, when I say we, I mean everybody that's contributing, letters, colorists, proofreaders, everybody. The whole book is lettered. It's been proofread and corrected from the proofreading is done and then corrected. And I'm still waiting on the last 15 pages of color, which Jason's had for 2 weeks. So I'm assuming we're getting really close to him just dumping those on me really any day now. And at that point, all I have left to do is put together the title page, the copyright page, and then assemble the covers, right? With the back cover and the spine, because I have to get a template from the printer that tells me how thick the spine needs to be based on what paper I'm using and how many pages it is and blah, blah, blah. So all that could be done in pretty much a day or two at most. And then I would then ship all this. Well, I'd send all this information to my designer who puts the book together, and then it goes to the printer. And then so I mean, we are right on the precipice of this thing going to the printer. And so with all that said, you may be asking, what are you even talking about? And I know no one in the chat is going, well, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It's Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow. It is it's the third adventure of the Wraith and Esther. It's in a nutshell, it's what if Batman was in 1883 in the Old West and was a monster hunter, and Alfred was a chick. And that's, there you go. That's your elevator pitch. And in this issue, they face off against the Headless Horseman. And the great thing about these Wraith of God stories is they're all contained. Okay, these are graphic novels, okay? Even though I know Alan Moore poo-poos that language, saying these aren't really novels, but it's kind of a pretentious way to describe a comic book. And so I'm going to go with it. It's 65. This story is 65 pages. It was supposed to be 64, but I added a page because it needed it. And so it's 65 pages. The whole book is 68 pages with, the other stuff. But so the story is 65 pages. Each one of these is a self-contained graphic novel story. They are connected. So if you haven't read 1 and 2, you can still read 3, but you might not completely be up to speed on the dynamic and the relationship between Wraith and Esther. And some of the stuff that happened before is referenced, so you can enjoy this on its own, but I would highly recommend, of course, reading all 3 to get the big picture. And this book comes with 4 covers. This is cover A by me. This is cover B, the EC tribute cover. That is also by me. And then, of course, the 1972 box cover Marvel edition by me. And these are always really fun. I love these. This is my favorite period of Marvel covers with the boxes on them. I don't know why. I just like them. And then this great, and even saying great is not doing it justice. This is a great painting by Chris Stevens, friend of mine who agreed to do this at his full rate, which I appreciate. Now, I'm just joking because I don't try and get like my friends or anything to do stuff at a cut rate. If you work for me, you get paid whatever you get paid. And so was thrilled that he was able to squeeze this in. And he actually reached out to me and said, because I had him do the Kit Carter painted cover, because originally he was supposed to do one for Wraith of God 2. And he couldn't do it, fit in his schedule. So I said, well, so I had him do Kit Carter. But then he comes back and goes, I really want to do the Wraith. I said, all right, do the Wraith. So he's the only guy I've used twice as a guest artist for cover art. And because I try to use somebody different every time. And, but anyway, it was well worth it. I mean, what a great piece. And here's some color art by Jason Wright of the interiors. This sky back here has been changed from blue, which feels like, hey, it's the Wraith and Esther on a picnic. I had him change it to something reddish orange, so it had a little bit more intensity impact, and I like it much better. And because this is just too serene. We have these t-shirts. Now, t-shirts are always hit and miss. You never know. And there's minimum orders on these things. And so I've had pretty good luck with the first couple times I've done t-shirts. Kit Carter t-shirts sold really well. This is a re-release of the Keown Werewolf shirt, because people keep asking for Keown Werewolf shirts, and I'm like, I don't have any more. So I did this, and then I thought, you know what, let's do the Bisley painted shirt as well. When these get delivered. I'm going to send one to John Malin. He will be wearing it on his show. So that was the deal we struck. I give him a free t-shirt. He's got to wear it because we all know how he mocked this wonderful cover, which ironically outsold Dale's werewolf cover. The Bisley cover from Wraith of God 2 outsold the Keown cover from Wraith of God 1. Craziness, but it's true. They're both great shirts, and I'm not going to be reoffering them again. This will probably be the end of the line for Wraith shirts, simply because, I mean, how many Wraith shirts do people need, right? Unless I come up with this really great design that I just can't, it's like, oh, I got to, So anyway, get in there and order these shirts because when they're gone, they're gone. There's minimum orders on these things, and that's where we're at on these. There's probably not going to be a ton of extras. Maybe there will be. If we don't meet our minimums, I'll have to order that many anyway, but it's always a crapshoot with sizes, right? So you never know if you're ordering extras. You're like, oh, do I get extra? How many extra larges do I get? How many larges do I get? How many mediums? Should I even get a small, or do I get a 3X? How many 3Xs should I get? It's a nightmare. So if you want one of these shirts, don't wait. Get in on it. And like I said, we've got about a week. I think what I'm going to do is close this campaign next Sunday. I was thinking about doing it on Graybeard's Wednesday, but then I've got the landing party after that. And then it just is going to be too broken up. So I might do it. I'm doing it this next week, unless the colors get delayed for some crazy reason. Then I'll leave it open longer until I get the cover. Until this thing goes to the printer, I'm going to leave it open. But my anticipation is that'll be happening next week. So, this isn't locked in, but I'm thinking probably next Sunday on Aaron Live, I'm shutting this thing down. So get in there and order if you haven't yet, because it's not going to be around much longer. These, of course, are the stretch goals. This is the Empire Comics collector stamp that'll be on the bulletins page, which is also a stretch goal. This is the sculpture card. This is the trunk card. Both these characters are from the Night Club. And these are cards you get. You also get the Art to Bear Garbage Man card that he did for me. And you can also, those are stretch goals. And then you can add this to your order. This is Wraith of God Nouveau, the Wraith Nouveau, signed and numbered, limited to 500. You can add this to your order, along with Wraith of God Roughs Volume 3, 48 pages of layouts to the graphic novel. So the graphic novel is 65 pages. This is 48 pages. It'll have the best 48 pages in there. Not every layout is a work of art. In fact, you could argue that many of them aren't. But I'll put the best ones in there, and you can kind of see what the layouts were before the finished artwork. It's kind of fun. These are signed and numbered, limited to orders. So there's rarely any extras of these. I ordered just a little bit extra in case stuff gets damaged. But other than that, if you don't order it early, you're probably not going to get one. Nightclub shot glass is number 4 in a series of 6 laser etched shot glasses. Keep your collection going by getting one of those. And we got the poker chips, which I thought were kind of fun because, the Old West gambling. Let's have some poker chips. Set of 3 commemorative poker chips here. And of course, you can get Wraith of God 1, Wraith of God 2 with the award-winning wraparound cover by me. And I love saying, I don't remember what award I won. I won some internet award for best cover of the year or something for this, for Comicsgate stuff. So, but if I can say, hey, I'm an award winner, it sounds good. New York Times bestseller list. So anyway, that's all the stuff on here you can get. Don't delay. Get on there today because it ain't going to last, folks. It really is going bye-bye because this book is done. I'm just waiting for the editorial stuff to get all done on it, and it's going to the printer. So, and I do also want to announce that on Graybeards this week, on Wednesday, I will be announcing the next project for Empire Comics after Wraith of God. So you'll want to tune into that. And I do also want to give you guys one other bit of information because so much stuff gets said on the internet and on social media, and then people run with it, and everything, stories and stuff evolve that aren't true and all that kind of crap. So the next project, which I haven't announced yet, I'm not going to launch until after the holidays, because I am a firm believer that spreading your audience too thin is a recipe for disaster. And I understand you guys, there's Thanksgiving coming up, there's Christmas coming up, and I do not like to launch projects this close, if I can avoid it, to the holidays. So I am going to wait until probably February to launch the next one. So in the interim, it's like, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to keep doing what I always do, but I have taken on a mini series from a small publisher. This is not a Marvel or DC thing or anything like that. But I have taken on a mini series from a small publisher. I can't talk about it yet because they haven't even announced it, to fill in those 4 months of when I'm not doing a crowdfund book. So I'm just getting that out of the way right now. That doesn't mean I'm leaving CG. It doesn't mean I'm not doing crowdfunding anymore. When you hear this announcement, if you ever hear it, because like I said, it's not like it's a major company or anything, but it's a job filler, get some money coming in between projects. That's all it is. So there you have it. Marilys says, launch on Thanksgiving, you coward. Oh, I am the most coward of the cowardice. See, Rich Ware knows, thoughtful. In my experience, holidays are the time when we have the least expendable income. That's absolutely true. And and plus, I don't like launching projects over the top of unfinished projects or unfulfilled projects. So the earliest I could launch something would be late October, and these aren't going to be back from the printer. And so I hate doing that. I like these things. I like the project to be shipped out, so you guys have it in your hands and go, hey, Aaron delivered again, and now he's got a new project. So I feel good. I'll back his new project. I think that's more fair to you guys. And so that's kind of how I'm going to do it. There we go. Well, I wish I didn't have to explain it, but I kind of feel like I do after kind of the rumor mill started churning, because Gail Simone sent me a couple of positive emails or messages about my Conan Wonder Woman work with her. So, whatever. So I just want to stay ahead of it. That's all. There's Chris, Evil One, says, I can barely keep up with all these comics, let alone read them. Exactly. So I just, I understand you guys are a faithful and powerful support group, and a lot of creators in this space are, God, I hate using that word, in this space, in this arena. How's that? Relying on you guys. And I just don't think putting so much pressure on you, especially during Christmas and Thanksgiving, is a good idea. And so I've tried to avoid that. I launched Wraith of God 2, I think, in October, and I didn't want to do it, but it came out okay. But it's like September is like as late as I would in the years I'd like to launch something. It's just a lot of times these projects carry on a couple months longer than you think they're going to when you first start them. And then there you are right back in the fall again. So I'm going to hopefully get a new cycle where I'm releasing stuff earlier in the spring instead of late in the fall. And I think that'll benefit everybody. Nicholas Gear for $2. Thank you. Lopez, artist for Relentless Tin Soldier confirmed. Oh boy. See, now the rumors are going. No, can you imagine? Let me say something. I know you're joking, but look at that with DC. In 2019, they fired everybody and their editorial staff, right? And I sent out emails to, like, there was 2 people left that I knew. They didn't even respond. Like, hey, I'm looking for, because I had just done Justice League. I mean, and it was really, those books turned out nice. And I was like, nothing. Couldn't get a response from everybody at Marvel. So the only reason anybody would hire me now, 5 years later, was because if they wanted to, like, create some sort of, you know, and they wouldn't do it anyway because they don't like me. So there's just no way that's ever going to happen unless they went in and just completely cleaned house. It's the only way that would possibly happen. And also, do I want to sit there and grind away again like I did for 30 years? Not really. Even though independent publishing is more work in a different way, at least I'm doing what I want to do and doing my own thing, right? So I would never work for Marvel and DC. If they came to me and said, Aaron, you can write and draw your own Batman story, okay, I'd probably do it. But I'm not just going to go back and become a monthly penciler again, except for this. Like I said, I'm doing this miniseries, this 4-issue thing. But there's a couple of reasons, you know, mainly just because I had the gap to fill in, and I was like, yeah, this will actually fit pretty nicely. These people approached me at San Diego, and I wasn't going to do any interiors, but then I looked at my schedule and said, you know what? I could actually do this and pay my bills for 4 months. That's a good idea. So anyway, what did I do? I mean, Jim joined Comicsgate. That's what I did. I went on Ethan's show to promote Wraith of God #1, and then I became a white supremacist Nazi after that. So, and that's all I did, by the way. So, anyway, so enough about that. So anyway, you guys, this is going to be, like I said, I don't see it being open for much more than a week at this point. And so if you're going to back it, get in there and back it. And now let's do, this is kind of a public service announcement for me. If you guys are looking for back issues or original art or books by me, you know, I don't like sell other people's books. You should check out my website. It's really easy to order. And you just you pay through PayPal, and I usually ship out the next day or within the next couple of days, depending on what's going on in my life. But generally, I get these things out right away. You can get Wraith of God 1, you can get Wraith of God 2, you can get Kit Carter, you can get all the covers for Wraith of God 2 are still available. Garbage Man trade paperback. I'm telling you, if you haven't read that, pick it up just for the art. It's the best stuff I've ever done. I still think that. And the story is pretty good too. I got some sketchbooks in here. Power Cubed, I still have some of those available, which was a creator-owned miniseries I did through Dark Horse 12 years ago now, maybe. And all collected in this trade paperback. You know, there's some ash cans, Kit Carter sketchbooks. I still have this stuff available in limited numbers. So check it out. You got prints. Look at all these prints I have available. All these are either signed or signed and numbered. Some of them are limited edition runs. Some of them are open editions, but they're all signed. Freya of the Ice Kingdom, Wraith of God, Look Up in the Sky, The Flying Pigs. This is a classic. I found a few extras and flat files I didn't know I had, so those are back up. This Mars one I love to death if you're a John Carter fan. Garbage Man, lots of Kit Carter stuff. Rosie the Riveteer. And tons of artwork for sale. All the sketches I do. Ooh, that Hulk sold. I guess I should take that down. You know, there's 3 pages of sketch art on here. A lot of the stuff was on Graybeards. A lot of it's not. A lot of monster stuff. Man, you'd think I'm into those monsters or something. If you want Kit Carter pages, I got them. At least the ones I'm going to part with. Also, you'll see some of the aforementioned Justice League pages. Here's some of those. Swamp Thing. I got a ton more pages that I keep threatening to put up on here. I haven't had the time to do it, but maybe once Wraith of God 3 is fulfilled, I'll put up a bunch more pages. There's even like some color art and things like that would be classified as illustration, like the Kit Carter painting for the movie posters on here, just all sorts of fun stuff. So check out my website if you haven't done so. You will find the links for both of my Wraith of God 3 campaign and my website in the description of this video. So no excuses. You can go visit the website. It doesn't cost anything unless you buy something, but you can look, and there's plenty of artwork and fun stuff there just to check out. And again, the link for Wraith of God 3 is in the description of this video. Don't delay. Order today. All right. Speaking of artwork, which I often do on this show, I found a guy that I was not aware of his work before, and which is often the case. And let's take a look at some of that right now. Who the heck is Bart Forbes? That's an excellent question, and we're going to find out right now. Bart did a lot of sports art. You may not be a sports fan, and that's fine, but the guy's still good. Most of us are familiar with Leroy Neiman, who's probably the most famous 20th century sports artist, fine artist. But look at this. It's a nice painting of DiMaggio, Joe. So I don't have a ton on Bart, because a lot of times you find these guys out and they're not well known. So the biography information you get is limited. So here we go. It says Bart Forbes has been one of America's most recognized illustrators for many years, and in recent years has found success as a gallery artist as well. This guy's still alive. I think he's like 96. His clients have included such well-known publications as Time Magazine and Sports Illustrated, and corporate clients have included NBC, the NFL, ABC TV, the Kentucky Derby, Indianapolis 500, the Green Bay Packers, America's Cup, etc., etc., etc. Bart has created many paintings for the PGA golf tournaments and clubhouses, including 7 murals that hang in the PGA's TPC clubhouse at Sawgrass, Florida. He was honored in 1988 as the official artist for the Summer Olympics in Seoul, Korea. Bart has designed over 20 postage stamps for the U.S. Postal Service, including President Ronald Reagan's centennial stamp, and 2 of Bart's paintings hang in the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. I'd say this guy is fairly accomplished. Wouldn't you? Now, this kind of has a watercolor feel, but it really, what it looks like to me is really thin oil paints. We kind of get this stain and kind of dripping effect down here. And that streakiness right there, like it appears that would be what he's doing on the canvas. I think I have a little more information on him that may tell us a little bit more about what he's working in. It's always hard when you don't have, we can't see the original. Look at this piece. I love this piece. Now see, some of this drippiness here reminds me of, it could be watercolor, but I don't know, the richness of color. I'm thinking it's just thin oils, but let's see here. Wikipedia says that Bart was born in 1939 in Altus, Oklahoma. So he is still alive. He is 96 years old, 2 years older than my mother, who's bagging and boarding right now, by the way. He was inducted into the Society of Illustrators Hall of Fame in 2017. And there is a book out called The Sports Art of Bart Forbes, which has a collection of his most famous paintings. He is well known for his loose, painterly, yet realistic style of work, which in the 70s and 80s was regularly reproduced to accompany stories for McCall's Red Book, Ladies' Home Journal, and other popular women's magazines. At that time, a number of limited edition prints were published, including Male and Female Golfers, the Endangered Species series. Ooh, I bet that's cool. And images of Native Americans, among others. Over the years, requests for large paintings necessitated that Forbes change medium. Oh, here we go. From watercolor to oil. So I'm going to assume then that these are watercolors. How about that? So we're going to assume these are watercolors. Because according to this, he changed mediums from watercolor to oil, but his style retained its original loose, washy quality. So he changed from oil so he could do larger paintings. Florida commission, they commissioned Forbes to do a number of mural-sized paintings of legendary golf moments and players from the Players' Championship tournaments. He's still painting commissioned work along with landscape paintings for sale in galleries. At 96, you know, we find out about these artists. They either die young or live forever. There's like, doesn't seem to be any sort of in between. Oh boy. Rand Arrington says, if those are watercolor, that's even more impressive. Amoral Fat 40 ouncer just tuned in. Golemolf saying these fabric folds are fantastic. They are. But you can see right in here, this sort of drippiness right in here feels very much like watercolors. But if you look at some of Frazetta's paintings, he really thinned his oils down and used them almost like watercolors in certain circumstances. And you could see the texture of the paper underneath Frazetta's stuff because it's so thin in areas. And so I wasn't sure if that's what he was doing here or not. But this appears to be watercolors. And more of his big mural stuff would be oil paintings, I guess. Look at this. Now, this is, don't worry, I'll show it to you. I love this. Now, this guy doesn't have a face, so you could, you know, you might bitch and moan a little bit about that. But these horses are incredible. And this feels more like an oil painting than a watercolor, just because the thickness around here of the color. And although this backdrop could be watercolor up here. If this is watercolor here on these horses, I'm really impressed because this is a really sort of like, look at this thick blobbiness in here. These things are really carrying some serious weight. That could be watercolor though. Man, that's good if it is. Of course, Dan Brereton uses watercolors and he uses them like oil paints. He uses them thick like oil paints. So, but this feels really thick in here. Well, this feels thin, the background. That's just really, really nice. Here's some of his landscapes. I'm going to assume these are more recent. Oh God, that pixelating, that's a terrible. That's terrible. I can't get a big shot of that because this in the foreground, this snow is clearly oil painting. Unless he was using watercolor right out of the tube. You can kind of see that it pixelates, but you can kind of see the texture, the thickness here. So I'm going to go with oil on that. That's a crappy reproduction. I'm sorry about that. Oh my gosh, how did I get these small, crappy reproductions? I thought I got bigger ones. Doak Walker, for those of you guys who are into college football, there's the Doak Walker Award given out to the college football's best running back every year. And it's because of this guy. Now, these are probably, photographs that he either referenced or maybe just, traced them and then painted them, which is a staple in commercial art. So I don't really criticize people for doing that, especially if you're trying to get likenesses, because you're getting paid for the likeness, you want it dead on, and that's the easiest way to get a really good likeness. But look at the texture in the paint, the pants, and that's a really nice illustration. And that's probably watercolor, because this would have been one of his older pieces. Okay, here's another landscape that I thought was really interesting looking. Look at that blue in I'm going to assume that's snow. Well, that wouldn't be snow, would it? That's interesting, because there's no snow or anything on the trees. I thought that was probably just snow, but it's a really interesting. I'm not sure. That's not water. I wonder if that's just like a impressionistic landscape. I like it. I love that shock of blue in there. I would hang this on my wall. I would. And I'm not a big fine arts guy, but I do kind of like this. Well, that's true. If the snow was melting, it just made me think of that. And that's kind of the remnants of the snow. That could be what that is, representation of. I don't know that Doke was a popular name, iodine. I'd use it now. You know, if your son was named Doke, it's kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's a nickname. I don't know if that's actually his real name. Good old Doak Walker. This is a great piece right here. Now this has got to be an oil painting. And I say that, I'll probably be proven wrong, but you can see the brush strokes in his jacket. And this gray, these highlights here, these were laid in over the top. Yeah, that's oil. You can see right that highlight later. These are thick brush strokes here in the hair. I just love these guys that are just like proficient at everything. They just pick up whatever. But yeah, that's Nat King Cole, I believe. That's what I said, right? Did I say Nat King Cole? I hope that's what I said. Oh, interesting. Someone did a little internet guy says the file is called Texas lupine. They're wildflower. Okay, those blue stripes are wildflowers. Wow. Rich Ware says there's a bunch of Dokes around here, but they're surnames. So like John Doke and Bob Doke. Interesting. I don't know. You know, it's almost makes you kind of want to look up the origin of the word Doke or the name Doke. Anyway, I think that's a great piece. I love this piece. It's got a lot of character in it. It's got weight. It's got three-dimensional quality to it. A lot of texture in there. I really like that. Now, you boxing fans, this I think is a great painting too. I love this. This is one of the fights of the century. It only lasted 3 rounds, but it was 3 of the most intense rounds of boxing you will ever see. And that's, of course, Tommy Hitman Hearns and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Of course, Hagler ended up knocking Hearns out, but Judas Priest, it was 3 rounds of dynamite action, folks. No, this was in the 80s. You can watch this fight on YouTube. If you're a fight fan and have not seen this, and also the last like 5 rounds of the Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns fight. I watched boxing all the time in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid and a young adult. And there was some great boxing. If you're into it. I mean, some people don't like the violence or whatever, but I did. Now look at this. This, I mean, all you got showing here is this dude's chin and everything else is in shadow. Man, that is a ballsy painting to do that. But it's when you do stuff like that that people are not expecting, which when you're thinking outside the box a little bit creatively, that's what gets people's attention. And I've said this many times on this show. I'm not good at thinking outside the box, which pisses me off. I always do everything conventionally, and this is not conventional. I would not think to do this, and yet it looks really cool. So anyway, that looks like this horse is definitely watercolor. It's funny when you get here, that background is watercolor. I mean, it's all watercolor, but it looks more, some of this looks more like watercolor than other of it, but I thought this is a pretty cool one here. There's Michael Jordan throwing it down, baby. I hated Michael Jordan, but man, he was good. Because I was a Portland fan back when Portland was a livable city that people actually like to come to. And the Bulls beat Clyde Drexler and the Blazers in the finals. And so, and Jordan, of course, killed him. I actually got to see him play in person, which is pretty remarkable. Got both Drexler and him in person, but one of those playoff games. I love the texture on the hardwood down here. Look at these little bits of orange that are like creeping out here. Just real nice technique, I think. Do we need to create phases? Do we need to send you some psychedelics to get you thinking outside the box? You mean like Altered States? Have you guys seen that movie? Whew. I don't want to turn into a caveman. Well, although Jordan didn't guard Bird, oh, wait a minute. Even though Jordan never guarded Bird, really, Bird, he could not beat Larry Bird in the Celtics. Bird's my all-time favorite player. Any slow white guy that can't jump, that can dominate the NBA, has my respect. Evil One says, you skipped Super Chats, Aaron. It's my way. Let's see what I missed. Okay, here we go. Evil One for $5. He goes, I passed my first college course on editing. I plan on taking another class soon. Never seem to catch your streams lately. Let's catch up soon. Well, Chris, congratulations. Now, are you talking about editing like film editing, or like editing like prose and text? But good job, man. That's great news. Binford Beer for $2 says 2 types of caloric deficit: up activity or eat less. 2 types of caloric deficit: up activity or eat less, or both. I've done one, but not both. For $2, thank you, Binford. Appreciate that. Evil One for $2. Do you offer student discounts on comics? You know what? I'm going to have a, obviously not on the campaigns, but I have another garage sale coming up. I think I'm going to do it because I was thinking about, because I got a bunch of trades and things like that. I gotta get some of this stuff out of here. And so, we'll have a few, t-shirts and stuff like that marked way down, and some other stuff for good buys. It's a garage sale after all, online. So keep your eyes open for that. A Binford Beer for $2. No add-on option to sign the reprints. No add-on option to sign the reprints. Oh, and the campaign. If you want a signed book, email me and I'll put you on a list. So it's Aaron@aaronlopresti.com. You go to my website, www.aaronlopresti.com, email me through there. And if you want your book signed, you can get, I'll hook you up. Nicholas Gear, Lopez Arts the Rentless. Okay, we got that. Thank you for those $2. Evil One, you got a lot of super chats. You still need money. You got a lot of super chats and you still need money. Well, after I don't get that many super chats. Ethan gets a lot of super chats. Like I can live off super chats. That's what Ethan gets. I don't get that. And plus, YouTube takes 30% of those. It's crazy, man. All right, so that was our sort of little look at BART Forbes, illustrator. And yeah. So I look over on my my little list here, and it says what I should do next. It tells me what I should do next because I wrote it down because I'm that well organized. And we're going to dig, not too deeply, but we're going to dig into my flat files right now. If you didn't catch Graybeard's studio, we were kind of playing, we're doing a tribute to Kelly Jones and John Beatty. And I thought it would make Beatty be nice to me, and it just didn't work out. But we had great fun. If you haven't seen this episode, you should check it out. It's really good. Really funny stuff. And some really good drawings, too. This is my sort of Kelly Jones Dead Man, my interpretation of trying to do Kelly Jones, doing Dead Man in Kelly Jones style. I think the mistake I made, I should have made his midsection torso longer than I did. See, this is what I'm talking about with conventionality. He's still kind of in proportion. I should have really stretched that midsection out. And I think it would have read more like Kelly. But I do think there's things in here that I think I captured, but it's hard. It's so hard because he draws, you know, in his special way, instinctively. And I've got to sort of try and figure out what he's doing and why he's doing it. And when I have completely different instincts. And so that's fun, but it's always a good challenge to try and you know, challenge yourself once in a while with stuff like this, because talk about thinking outside the box. Kelly's certainly one of those guys that thinks outside the box. And if you're, I tried to get Kelly to come on Graybeards, but he couldn't do it. He was feeling under the weather. But I did get him on this show a couple of years ago and interviewed him. And it's a really interesting interview. If you have not seen it, check my YouTube page, and you have to go way back looking for my interview with Kelly Jones. I also did a really good one with Dale Keown. And I've also got ones with Walter and Wheezy Simonson that is pretty good. So these were like years ago when I first started the channel. And so if you haven't seen those, you should do yourself a favor and check them out because they're really informative stuff. So. Okay. Paul Taylor's questioning in his special way. Well, I don't mean that like, you know, like special ed. I mean, you know, is very unique, maybe unique. I should have used the word unique approach to that. What do you guys think of this idea of doing a, you guys, I'm sure you've seen this, Batman Black and White. This is the collection of the first miniseries of Batman Black and White. There's a great Kevin Nolan story in here, Monsters in the Closet. The interesting thing about Kevin Nolan is he's done so many obscure stories that a lot of people aren't aware of some of the stuff he's done. And I thought I should do this, like, I should do a show called Finding Kevin Nolan and like just go over like all the like obscure stuff he's done that people are like, oh, I didn't know he did that, or I didn't know he did that. It'd be kind of cool, I think. So I'm thinking of doing that, but I will continue. I'm going to reach out to him, let him know I'm doing it before I do it, so he doesn't think I'm doing something, you know, weird to him. So you guys have seen this. I still haven't finished it. Maybe I will now that once Wraith of God is done. I might finish this up. I kind of want to paint it. And then, of course, I don't know if you've seen this. I got to finish this too. This is like a close-up Conan piece. So I do these things, and I sit them aside, and I go, oh, I should finish that sometime. And then years later, and I still haven't finished them. Like, you know, you draw like a Wonder Woman, you're like, I should finish that. Maybe you're doing Captain Marvel Jr. and you think, man, I should really finish that. I got so much crap in here. It's amazing. Now look at this. Look at this. Okay. This was a double page spread in Damage, and I didn't like the way I was shaping up. So I got this far in it, abandoned it, and redrew it. I think I recently sold the original, but I thought like Damage was too straight up and down. It didn't feel like he was getting pulled off balance enough. And so I did redo that after getting that far. Double page spreads are... Look at this. I should really finish this. Space adventure story I got a million IPs. Look at this. This is a rough. I wasn't intending on doing this, but what the heck? Look at that's a rough for a Ninjak cover that actually did get published many moons ago. And that was the pencil for it. Paul Taylor, $10 Canadian. Thank you. He says, are you still doing the odd thing in watercolor, or was that Conan just a one-time experiment? The odd, that was acrylics. No. I am still, I've decided to go acrylic. I like to be able to go over the top of, when I screw stuff up. Now check, I don't know, have I ever shown you guys this? I was supposed to take over She-Hulk after John Byrne left, and Gary was going to ink it. Of course, we ended up doing Sludge, but that was like the preliminary character sketch I did. Not great, but Gary cleaned it up really well. But we ended up not doing that. Oh, look at this. A pit card they did for Dale way back in the 90s. This isn't original. It's a Xerox. I think I sold the original. Another Wonder Woman. For whatever reason, I just didn't finish. Evil One, your unfinished artwork campaign coming soon. Get you guys to pay me to finish these? The whole book of unfinished work. That is supposed to be an acrylic painting, and we'll see. Hopefully we'll get to that very soon. It's Conan the Barbarian, of course. What else today? I don't know if I showed this or not, but I was going to do a Bigfoot piece. I just didn't. I still haven't finished it, but I do want to finish this. Kind of a gnarly old Yeti, maybe. Maybe that's more Yeti than Bigfoot. I don't know. Could be either. Is there anything else in here worth noting? Well, this is the very first logo I did. You can see it's an L for Lopresti, but it had all these like strange characters. Look at this like early, like I had Merv, but he was like a monkey detective with a ray gun. I can't even tell you what the concept was. I think it was something, his name was something Atomic Chimp or something. I don't know, but Just a bunch of fun stuff on there that I used as my logo. Those of you who watch Graybirds might remember this. We did Atlas Comics from the 70s, and I did the Brute, right? And I started coloring it, and I went, this sucks. I'm not going to finish this. But now that I let it sit for a while, I'm like, yeah, maybe I should finish that. So I put it aside to let talk myself into, see, I just was not happy with it. So I have him destroying the street sign from Suck Street. But I probably should. I just like, should I spend the time coloring that? I was like, So anyway, I got stacks of this stuff of like unfinished artwork. Another Wonder Woman. I tell you, man. Well, there you go. There's my flat files today. It was a little bit more of a journey than I had expected taking, but that's fine. That's cool. Glitch says, I hear Suck Street really comes to life after dark. Yeah, I don't throw stuff out. I just don't. I've got like, it's got to be like the crappiest piece of junk ever. I mean, I occasionally have thrown pieces away, but almost never. I've got flat files full of half finished drawings and stuff like that. Green Laser says Suck Street is now called Portland. Sadly. Okay. There's a question that a lot of people, that's ringing in the minds of many people, because they want to know what I spend my money on. Again, if you were watching Graybird, you saw this, but I got a new skull. This is a like authentic medical skull. And the reason is, maybe you wouldn't be surprised of how many skulls I have to draw. And skulls are kind of like tanks. You draw a tank, right? And you think, yeah, it looks like a tank. And then you get a photo reference of a tank and you realize your tank doesn't look anything like a real tank looks like. And a lot of times that happens with skulls. You start doing skulls and you think, oh, that looks like a skull or whatever. And then you get out a real skull and you're like, okay, that doesn't look like a skull at all. So I like to have skulls around that I can draw. Well, not skulls, but a skull around that I can use for reference. Because you're like, look at that. Like you got the screaming skull, right? And maybe you want to do the screaming skull at 3/4. This is really helpful. And I got this on Amazon for like $30, I think. Dogs are going wild. I had another one that I used in film school for a movie, but the jaw's broken on it. But this one is attached, so it allows me to do, this kind of fun stuff. So anyway, and it's not fragile. It's, good old American plastic. So there you go. So that's what I bought recently, was this skull. And I've used it already on a drawing. So it's already paying dividends. Apex, tanks and skulls are challenging to draw. There are like 20 dogs roaming the street right now barking. I don't know what is going on out there. It's insane. Glitch wants to know, is that Gary after Tina caught up with him? It might be. That could be a horror film, man. Creative Face says, Aaron is a numbskull? That's for you, Creative Faye. Let's see. No, it's plastic. It's not a real one. I actually had a real one once. And after I had it for a while, I was like, I got to get rid of this. This is like creeping me out. Because when I was in film school, one of my actors who was also in the Village People, small world. Anyway, he wasn't the original, one of the original members. He came later. But anyway, he was still in the, when they like tour now, he's like one of the guys. So anyway, and I think he told me he's the only guy that wasn't gay that was in the, and if that's not true, I apologize to the other Village People if I just called them gay and they weren't. But anyway, he bought this house from this doctor in Burbank. And so he was acting in one of my student films. And I needed a skull because you're supposed to find like this remains like in the desert. And so he goes, "Oh, I've got a skull." And I go, "Seriously?" He goes, "Yeah, the doctor left it. I want to get rid of it. My girlfriend hates it." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." So he brought it. So he brings me this skull. And then we do that. We set it up. We do the shot. And it was so brown that it just blended in with the sand and the dirt that it was in. You could hardly see it. I was like, oh God. So I went down to Hollywood Boulevard and killed somebody. No, I went down to Hollywood Boulevard and there was like a magic shop and they had like this skull. And, but it was white like that one. And so I dirtied it up just a little bit, but kept it white enough that when we filmed it, it separated from the brown of the dirt and actually worked really, really well. But then, so I had the real skull and then this fake skull that I bought. And so I finally traded the real skull to another guy for some shark jaws. And then just because I wanted to get rid of it and just little like souvenir shark jaws, not like, really cool ones, but just little ones. And so then I got rid of the human skull. And so then I had the other one forever until I broke the jaw on it. And then, so now I got a new one. And that is the history of skulls as far as I know. Well, Holloway says we had a real skeleton in science class in the 80s. Yeah, back then they, you had the real stuff and then they started going plastic. You go in the chiropractor's office, right? And they got like a skull, like the upper half and the spine and the scapula and the rib cage. I was like, ooh, I want to take that home. I don't know why, but they're cool. I was for a short period of time. Yes, very short. All righty. So there you go. That's the history of Aaron's strange collecting habits. Do I have anything else on the agenda here? Oh my gosh. How could I forget? See, it's a good thing I wrote this stuff down or I would have jumped right over the most important part of the show, which is this. Yeah, we're going to take a look at some Dave Cockrum work. Now, again, not a huge Cockrum fan. I'm not saying I'm not a Cockrum fan, but I'm just saying I'm just sort of, I like his stuff, but I don't go out of my way to get it. But as I was looking at some of his covers, I was like, this guy did some pretty iconic work. I should feature him on the show. So let's get right into it, shall we? So these are, again, would be from my, the covers that I researched and looked at. I go, these are my favorites of his. So your mileage may differ or vary. Here we go. How about Micronauts, huh? Now, Micronauts is known for Michael Golden, then Kelly Jones' early work. So there's a lot of good artists that worked their way through Micronauts. Now, I never got into the Micronauts because I had the same feeling about this stuff as I do Atari Force, which is this is a comic book based on toys. It just felt cheesy and cheap to me. And so I never, And because of that, I never opened up the book and saw the great art that was in there. Much like I felt like Atari Force was this cheesy, cheap thing that was based on a video game. So why would I want to read it? And I just never liked stuff like a ROM Space Knight. I never picked that up because that was based on a toy, I believe, as well. So anyway, I think this is a pretty dynamic cover for our good friend Dave Cockrum. And good team shot. You got your little goofy looking villain up there. This isn't the top of my list, but I thought it was a pretty good cover, actually. Now, Comic Books in Cahoots says the Micronauts and X-Men crossover miniseries was great. And again, I'm not saying it wasn't, because I know a lot of people loved the Micronauts series. Apex Comics for $2 says my Fembot design was inspired by Dave Cockrum. Well, how about that? Apex has a Dan Lawless cover, I think, on his Fembot book. It's pretty saucy, so you guys want to check that out. I believe that's on Fund My Comic, correct, Apex? I'm getting booed by Rand Arrington. Captain Bitco says, screw you to the toys. The toys were great. I'm not saying the toys weren't great. I'm saying that I didn't like comic book properties adapted from like toys and video games. So that's all I'm saying. There's a personal bias, I admit it, but let's not get you don't have to get antagonistic in the chat just because I don't like comic books based on toys and video games. Glitch is saying he thought the Micronauts toys looked too fragile for kids to play with, even though that was not his generation. Fembat. I'm sorry, it's not Fembot, it's Fembat. My apologies. All right, so now I always like this one, and it sort of goes against what I'm always preaching on the show for covers, which means there's always exceptions to every rule. This is kind of a busy cover. And there's not, I would have, if I had drawn this Spider-Man, it would have been much bigger, and maybe had the X-Men in the background a little bit, or just have Spider-Man bigger in the foreground. But at the same time, this is kind of a really good storytelling cover where you get this clear sense of action and stuff that's going on in this book, and you're like, whoa, maybe I should pick this up. And I'll have to admit that I don't know why I can't tell you why I like this cover any more than I can tell you why I don't really like the new Superman movie. But it works for me on some level. And I think the Spider-Man pose is really, really good. When you get Spider-Man coming in from the front, so normally we should see him from behind, but you're able to turn him in such a way that you can still see him really well. That's a big win because you want to see him on the cover, right? And Marvel Team Up was essentially a Spider-Man book. So even though the X-Men were very popular and very important, the new X-Men, Spider-Man was still the guy that was prominent in this book, and he did a good job of featuring him in here. And that robot's kind of goofy, whatever, but I think the Spider-Man pose really sells it for me. So, and I just recently bought this, not slabbed. This isn't my 9.4 copy. I have an unslabbed copy of this. So now I had to bring this one back because I originally used this as a John Byrne, and Marcus Killigrew corrected me and said, that is not John Byrne. That's Dave Cockrum. And so now I'm using it for the Dave Cockrum. So, and now someone's going to say, no, that's not Dave Cockrum. That's Jim Mooney. No, this is, I'm not going to say I'm 100% sure because I'm never 100% sure everything, but I think, pretty sure this is Dave Cockrum. And so, yeah, his signature is right there on the moon. It is Cockrum. Okay, so I love, again, the Spider-Man figure, this giant Spider-Man. You know, Adam Warlock in the background is kind of straight on and not really all that pose isn't that interesting. But this Spider-Man in the foreground is really interesting to me. And the fact that he's floating in space, I just really like the figure drawing. I really like the boldness of the figure and how close, you know, how big it is on the cover, and the fact that he's in space floating around. I think this is a really good cover. Well, it says the inks don't look like Cockrum, and yet there's no other name on here. So he must have inked it himself. But I would agree. What's going on here seems very un-Cochran-like. But who knows? Maybe he was just trying something. I don't know. I mean, I always do that. I'm always messing around with inking, see what kind of effect you can get. But Paul Taylor says, I never thought Warlock was very interesting. When Jim Starlin drew Warlock, he was interesting to look at and very confusing. But that was Starlin's way, these weird space galactic stories or whatever you want to call them. They were really hard to follow, especially as a young kid, but I did dig his artwork. I don't know that this one gets mentioned a lot as, oh, that's a great Cockrum cover. I kind of like it though. And it's just the simplicity of, maybe it's just Dr. Doom, right? And he's holding Storm in his arms after defeating the whole entire X-Men team. Who inked that? Rubenstein inked that. Again, if it were me, I wouldn't have been so, I would not have had Doom just standing straight forward like that. I would have put him at an angle, make it a little more interesting. But you know, it's still Doom. It's still right there. You know, the victory of Doom right there, the victory of Victor Doom over the X-Men. I kind of like it. Comic Books and Cahoots says Warlock had no pants. I know he had little Speedo underpants. Heart of Roy says he's got Doom thumbing Storm's nipple. It's pretty close, isn't it? Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, anyway, okay. Another big character, central image. And I just happen to be a Nightcrawler fan. I remember this miniseries came out. That's pretty cool. You know, Nightcrawler always wanted to be a swashbuckler. He was kind of a swashbuckler at heart, right? So it made sense to kind of do a Nightcrawler as a pirate, but it looks like alien pirates. I don't recall ever actually reading this, but I do remember when it came out and thinking, oh, that looks kind of fun. And Nightcrawler was the one guy. Nightcrawler and Colossus were the two X-Men that I kind of liked, the new X-Men. I became a Wolverine fan later when, you know, everybody else loved him. But like originally I was kind of like, Nightcrawler's kind of cool. Probably because he was the most like a monster, you know, and same with Colossus. I later got to draw the X-Men for a short stint before Ethan Van Sciver got my editors fired. But Nightcrawler is a lot of fun to draw as well. Now we're getting into the upper echelon of my favorite. I'm going to save that one, actually. Why is that down here? This should be up here. Because these are my favorites, not necessarily anybody else's favorites. Now this, I do own this. It's not slabbed, but I do own a nice near mint copy of this. This, of course, is the first appearance of Sabretooth. I don't think this is a great cover. I don't think it's a bad cover, but I think it's an iconic cover, and it's super important because features the first appearance of Sabretooth, which is, from a collecting standpoint, even from a reader standpoint, pretty important issue. I think Sabretooth needs to be bigger. Just the way, in the position he's in, he actually looks smaller than Iron Fist. And but I mean, again, the thing with Cockrum was more of a storyteller on the covers than he was trying to do a dynamic cover, right? I mean, there's action on this for sure, but it's kind of a side view, just sort of the action is playing out in front of you. But he was more about telling a story, giving you a situation and saying, hey, I'm going to read this situation that he's presented here. And of course, here we are in the snow, and there's a new character called Sabretooth fighting Iron Fist. Okay. White snow, white doom. Your snowblind hero, your flaming fist means nothing now. So I'd buy this. But it's certainly over time, because of the importance of it, the significance of it, has become a very important cover. Rich Ware says he's off to do cardio, ladies and gents. All right. I'll be doing mine tomorrow morning. I don't do anything on the weekends except to watch football and sometimes cry because my team loses. But they won this weekend. Woohoo! Okay. Now, this is another pretty famous Cockrum cover. That's a pretty good one. So you had in Iron Fist 14, you had the first appearance of Sabretooth, and now you got the X-Men crossing over. Again, nice action cover. You got all the X-Men in there. Oh, well, except Cyclops, I guess, and Jean Grey. But you got the core of the new X-Men there: Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, and Wolverine. What in the world is he wearing back here? But so you got this a nice action cover. There's a fight scene, stuff's going on. I do like the way that he kind of uses Colossus here to frame Iron Fist in the middle a little bit here. You got Nightcrawler in the foreground. There's nice depth to it. And again, it's an X-Men crossover, so it's an important cover. But this is one of his more iconic covers. Hidden Hand Media is like, is Wolverine doing voodoo? Evil One says they made an action figure in the early 90s with that Wolverine costume. Wow, I did not know that. Creative Face says no one cares about Jean or Cyclops. That is so true. Art of Roy explaining everything to me, says that's Fang's costume after he killed him in X-Men. Okay. So he killed the dude and took his clothes? Wow. Anyway, so there you go. Now we're going to get to probably my 3 favorite Cockrum covers. This one you're not expecting, I can guarantee it. But I love this cover. Of course, is the Deja Thoris issue of John Carter of Mars, special issue, The Origin of Deja Thoris. I love the figure. I loved how we've got, I love the coloring. You've got the John Carter battling a Thark there in the background, and it's kind of grayish blue, sort of knock it back. So our focus is all on Deja. Now, like I said, Cockrum he inked the first issue over Kane, and this issue 11, he did the pencils on this. I don't remember if he inked it himself. He may have. But those are the only 2 issues that he worked on. I remember when this came out, I was a wee lad of 13 or 14. I was like, ooh. I just was starting to get into Frazetta or copying Frazetta and drawing. So I did a lot of like warrior women and babes and that type of stuff. And I was in junior high, so chicks were suddenly going, I was like, girls, yeah, baby. And so this really stood out to me for a lot of reasons. He did do a bunch of Ms. Marvel covers. None of them I was all that high on. I mean, they weren't bad, but none that would have made this list for me anyway. But I do love this cover. It's probably, honestly, it's probably my favorite Cockrum cover. But there's a couple more that are way more important than that. So I had to put them above it on this list. I always like this one. Great body language, nice figure work there. I did an issue of Ms. Marvel, or a story arc where she became this character. Because this is, who is this? Is this Ms. Marvel? Was she originally this character? Or what's the name of this character? I can't remember. Binary, yes. Evil One's demanding I stop my John Carter bias. I will not ever. Paul Taylor says no Legion covers. Okay, Paul, I did not read DC. So the only covers I cared about were Marvel. Marvel, baby, unless it was something really special. And I was not a Legion fan, so he said he did redesign Ms. Marvel's costume, so give him credit for that. That is Carol Danvers. Okay, cool. So there you go. But I got to draw her in that outfit, in her binary outfit, in my run on Ms. Marvel. It was a lot of fun. I actually liked it. Nice little throwback. Mike Wilson, art for $2. Thank you, Mike. Did you like DC's first or second run on X-Men? Oh, Dave Cockrum. So I was like, since when did DC publish? Well, his first run was he wasn't on it that long, was he, before Byrne took over? But I would say his first run, because that was the thing. But I never collected either one of them. I was aware of his first run. And I don't know why I was so pig-headed about not buying X-Men, because everybody's like, oh, this is the greatest thing, you got to buy it. And I was like, I'm not buying it because you're telling me to. And that was really dumb, since they're all like worth a lot of money. And I could have bought every single one of them off the newsstand, because I was there and I just passed them by like a fool. So I'd say his first run on X-Men is what I remember. There you go, 94 through 1. Yeah, it was like 13 issues. It wasn't very long. And then Byrne took over, right? Okay, then of course, finally, you all know it's coming, right? How do you not put this up here? I don't own this either, but I have been thinking about getting a copy. This, of course, is the first appearance of the Phoenix. So really important issue and cover. And actually, this is a well-designed cover, I think. You've got your X-Men drowning in the whatever they're drowning in the foreground there. A Cyclops head turned towards us, yelling, "Wah!" And then Jean Grey coming up out of the waves. Poor Jean Grey, man. They killed her and reincarnated her and killed her so many times. This, of course, was, I don't know, do we dare say this is like the most famous X-Men storyline, maybe, is Jean Grey becoming Phoenix? I mean, Future Past, I guess, was pretty big as well. But this is a pretty monumental event right here. And this is actually one instance where I don't mind getting this sort of straight-on shot of Jean Grey. I probably wouldn't have done a straight-on shot. I still probably would have angled it. But it does, that kind of T design there for coming out of the water. I think it works really, really well. And it's impactful. You have it encroaching a little bit on the cover. Because they are the all new, all different X-Men. And Enter the Phoenix. Marcus Killiger gives us some interesting information. Cockrum kept doing the X-Men covers just to screw over John Byrne. Oh, that's funny. So I'm guessing that Byrne and Cockrum didn't get along then? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, you could get the Jesus crucifixion kind of. I'm going to guess that's not what he was going for, but I don't have any idea. Evil One for 2, he says, I own all Uncanny X-Men to 544 besides. So you don't own, you own all of them except 101? Is that what you're telling me? Well, this is an expensive book now, so you missed your opportunity, apparently. Yeah, that's like owning all the Spider-Man except having, you don't have 129, the first appearance of the Punisher. Now, Evil One says the 101 bugs him, so he says, screw it, I don't care. A glitch says he's pressing that X-Men crucifixion cover today, number 251. I don't know which one that is. Is that the one with Wolverine where he's like on a kind of an X cross thing? But anyway, so Glitch, do you do restoration or you just kind of do it on your own with your own books, do some pressing here and there? Curious. Restoration is fascinating to me. Paul Taylor for 10 Canadian says, Superboy 197. This cover famously features Timberwolf in a new costume designed by Cockrum, an update that was influenced by his love of Star Trek. Okay. All right. Let's look it up. See what... what issue was it? 197. Okay. Let's see. See, here's the problem. And I don't... Let me share this. Let me get your $10 worth out of this one, Paul. Again, you know how it's like straight on pose of everybody's so small. I would have liked to, you know, maybe like a down shot a little bit of, and Timberwolf kind of looking up at camera maybe, or something, you know, where he's not just posing, but I get it's his first appearance. They want to prominently feature him. I just feel like it's too quiet. We're too far back from the scene. We're not engrossed in it. We're just kind of looking at it, and it kind of kills some of the impact for me. But thank you for the $10, and there you go. That was a look at that. Stippling Vaughn, hot take. Cockrum is overrated. Never cared for him. I'm indifferent in that I don't dislike his work, but I don't really like seek it out. But he did. I'll give Dave Cockrum credit for what he did. A lot of good design work, costume design stuff, and came up with a lot of cool characters. So I just don't fancy him. I don't fancy him as a particularly prominent cover artist. But like I said, I wasn't even going to do his work at all. But when I saw how many iconic covers he had, you know, either by subject matter or whatever that he was involved in, I was like, you know what? Let's do Dave Cockrum. because before you know it, we're going to be into the 90s and this whole series on cover art is going to be over. So, Timberwolf thought he was an android originally. Was Timberwolf, did he do that before Wolverine or after Wolverine? Because I'm going to assume that Timberwolf was a ripoff of Wolverine, or Wolverine was a ripoff of Timberwolf, but they're both by Dave Cockrum, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Randy Hell says, in Britain, if you're saying you fancy someone, that... All right. A lot of people are agreeing with me on the me breaking down that cover there. So I feel good about myself then. Paul Taylor says, Cockrum said he got ripped off for creating a lot of the characters, which is true. He did. So he made his own book, The Futurians, which started as a Marvel graphic novel and then did a short series. Okay. But see, that's the thing. Whenever you like say, oh yeah, I designed Wolverine or whatever, and Marvel takes them and they don't give you any recognition or money or whatever. So you go, well, I'm going to show them, or, you do similar things and then launch them as something different or independently, and no one cares because you've already lost that lightning in a bottle of that character that you created for Marvel, and then they took it. And so life's rough out there. Life is rough out there. Where are covers done when you get into the 90s? I was just throwing that out there. I will do cover artists up to the point where I have not interested in cover artists anymore. So I guess we'll get into the 2000s, but whatever. Okay, so Art of Roy saying Ramita is the first drawing I saw of Wolverine. And then Apex is saying Cockrum updated Wolverine's look in Giant Size X-Men #1. Okay. So he didn't originally draw him, but he did design, I know Nightcrawler and Colossus was his too, right? And Storm, I think all those were his. But it doesn't really matter because they're Marvels now. Oh, well, what are you going to do? All right, folks, it's that time of the evening that we all wait for to get scientifically enlightened. All righty. All right, here we go. Now, it's long been said in the cryptid community that construction sites are a hotbed for cryptid appearances. And this first video is no exception. So you're going to have to tell me whether you believe what you're about to see. So guys, looking in the... Wait, what? Oh, what's that? Oh, yes, it's a gray alien hiding underneath this big cat, a road grader, whatever this is. Now, I like how they try to let us think that, I'm examining the whole grounds here. Oh, there's nothing in the garbage can, but I heard a noise. Could it be over there? Okay, so if Vegas were placing odds on this, it would be, you've got 97% chance that this is a hand puppet, and a 3% chance that it's actually a gray alien. And those odds may be a little high. But it's snowing out, it looks like, or are those just bugs? Those are bugs buzzing around. It's at night, kind of lending to its authenticity. Because the minute you shine a light on a gray alien, the first thing he's going to do is peek up to see who's shining the light. He's not going to scurry away. And the question, of course, is if this guy and his buddy are filming this, do they not try and capture the gray alien? Do they just run away? Why have we not heard more about this? I'll tell you why, because it's a hand puppet. That's why. At least that's just my take on it. Of course, you guys know I'm cynical, so I could be wrong, sure. Evil One says it could be a part of the tractor. I'm not going to go that far. Gemini Dragon says it's Shane after a mange drunk fest. And Randy says it's called an excavator. Thank you, Randy. Creative Face says that is me after dropping my beanie. That's 2 that Creative Faye has gotten today. If Kelsey exists, so does Bigfoot. You might be onto something there. Pastmaster Dan is encouraging all you guys to hit the like button and subscribe because, well, it helps this channel grow. You may not like the show, but I think it would just be a nice gesture to hit the like anyway. The problem with these things are now, guys, is that half the viewing audience is on, or 2/3 of the viewing audience is on Twitter these days, and only like 1/3 are actually watching it on YouTube. So they're unable to hit the like, I think, from the X, from watching it on Twitter or X. Okay, so where's Pity Ma, by the way? Shouldn't she be watching this? This is like her husband's favorite part. All right, I was going to show this one a while ago, but then I was like, this is... But I thought, you know what? I'm going to show it and let you guys decide. I can't be the guy who always makes the final decision. You need to be the people that make the final decision. So you tell me, what in the world are we looking at right here? Right there. Is that a dude with a backpack on and like a tent rolled up? Is it a giant monster that has a square head? I mean, clearly this is a guy with a backpack and a bedroll, right? Am I missing something here? There's a nice commercial for, what is that for? Ooh, a solar generator. Let's take a look at this again. Okay, look, he raises his arms out, right? Like he's going rawr. But look at that giant. What is this? What is going on in his back? I mean, that's got to be like a massive backpack, and this guy's in a coat, right? And like this thing sticking out here, isn't that like a maybe like a tent or something? Maybe. Okay, so this is like, we're getting to a point where people will film anybody or anything and blur it up and say, oh, it's Bigfoot. I mean, this doesn't even look like, okay, does he have like sticks in his hands? Like, what are those things called for when you snow ski? It looks like he's jamming them in the ground to help him walk, doesn't it? Right here, look at, see that hand going. See, there's definitely something in that hand right there, in his left hand, like a stick or something he's jabbing into the ground. Now, it's so hard to tell. Clearly, this isn't snowing out because we have this grass in the foreground. But is that a guy out there maybe hunting snakes or something? And he's trying to... Let's see here. There's Pity Ma. She's back. That looks like an army soldier. Looks like a hiker. Gemini Dragon says EVS is pie hunting. That is always a possibility. Pastmaster Dan says, no, we're all wrong. That is an ancient alien. Okay. Evil One says it's Urza from the Dark Crystal. Skip polls. Gemini Dragon saying you need a big bag to carry all that pie. EVS. Okay, now could be Ukla the Mock. Is that the guy from like He-Man or who was the other guy? One of those guys, right? Isn't that the show that Ukla the Mock was on? It was either He-Man or help me out, Thundar. There you go, Thundar. I get those guys confused. You have the same hairstylist, I think, don't they? Thundar and He-Man. Yeah, okay. Drawn by Kirby. Yeah, Thundar. Okay, that's clearly not hiking Bigfoot. But they're trying to say it's a skunk ape, which is the southern version, the swamp version of Bigfoot. And I've got to say, I'm unconvinced. I'm unconvinced of this. Now this is some guys allegedly on a boat going down a riverbank or going down a river. And on the riverbank, they're going to see a picture of, they're going to see the dog man, apparently. You tell me what you think they're seeing. So on the river, they're showing the, because everybody goes out at the river at night. Look, there it is. Maybe there it is. Look, oh, you got the pointy ears. Look at those pointy ears on the dog man. Right there. Look at those pointy ears. Right there. Okay, let's take a look at that. Right there. You see the ears. He's kind of mangy looking. Only half covered in fur. But those pointy ears. So the question is why, maybe they heard some rustling and so they showed they flashed the light up there and luckily had their camera rolling on the low focus mode and were able to capture this image of the dog man. I mean, the bigger question here is it possible to make crappier looking videos? I mean, is it even possible at this stage to make crappier videos than we're forced to look at every time someone films one of these cryptids? So what do we think here? Is this really what's lurking out in the woods, or is this little CGI effects, little AI effects, and then blurred up so we can't see it? Or is it really a dog man? Mike, let's see, I didn't thought of this. Mike Wilson says that's maybe an elfin. Mike Wilson, then Mike can't make up his mind. It's Kelsey, it's an elfin. He's saying this is are you talking about this one or the previous one was DoorDash dropping Popeyes for Kelsey? Film students need to practice. Creative Face says that looks like a puppet. Could be. I mean, if it was practical effects, I'd have more respect for it. Let's see here. She says it looks like a puppet. It's like maybe animatronic type stuff. Let's see. Well, no, it can't be a puppet. Look at that. Look at him bend that knee backwards to take a step backwards. Makes me think if it's practical, it's a guy in a costume. See, look at that step right there. Those two steps, pretty hard to do with puppetry. So do we have a guy in a costume potentially here? Or is that really the dog man? Green Laser says Nightcrawler as a werewolf. I kind of like the design. I've got to admit, I like the face on this thing for what I can see right here. I like the pointy ears, you know, the furrowed brow. I kind of like what I'm able to see. I don't know. Of course, I think it's fake, but is it, you know, how'd they do it? Paul Taylor gives it a B, thinks it's good work on the costume. I do actually think it's either a real dog man, which I don't think it is at all, or it's a guy in a costume. And if it's a guy in a costume, I kind of digging it. I think it's pretty good. What do we got here? Bigfoot prancing through Texas Park. Okay. That should tell you everything you need to know about this next clip. Now, this, to me, fits in the same category as the guy walking with a backpack. I mean, okay, let's watch this. It kind of looks like he's tiptoeing, doesn't it? What about this video makes anybody think this is nothing? This is not a guy in a coat and pants walking through a park. I mean, what makes anybody think that, oh, this is Bigfoot? I mean, first of all, the image is so horrible. It could be anything or anybody. Let's take a look here. You know, security cameras are there for a reason, so that if someone, say, commits a crime or vandalism, that you can identify who the person is. If this is the quality of their security cameras, they have no security cameras. What I'm guessing is this is a series of still frames that they put together to make a video. But but it's panning. The camera is actually panning, so it's got to be, I don't even know what to think. Corey Landis says that's the crime of sexy walking. Is that what that is? Oh, the stride. Oh my goodness. Paul Taylor says prancing, so gay. Tiny Tim says green laser. Victor says Bigfoot could be immortal and alive since the Roman times and the brain behind different empires. A CEO in a major corporation today in control of many other big ones. That is the most well thought out, ridiculous statement I've ever read. Thank you, Victor. Well, Randy, they have. But they're all comedic ones. I'm sure you've seen on Instagram, right? Where they're Bigfoot generated, you know, like he's smoking weed or he's drinking beer and, you know, talking to they're actually kind of amusing. The problem I have with it is the design of the Bigfoot looks too much like an ape and not like kind of half man, half ape is, I think, what we're really going for with the Bigfoot. They just look like gorillas out in the woods, you know, like smoking weed and eating mushrooms and tripping out and drinking energy drinks. They're kind of funny little clips that these guys put together, but Green Laser says that's Tiny Tim, maybe. Tiny Tim died, didn't he? I think he's still alive. War Habit says Victor gets a cookie. Poor Victor. Okay. So, you know, my big selling point for the show is that I had like 6 videos to show you. Unfortunately, none of them have been worth a darn. Well, except the dog man was okay. The dog man was okay. All right. This is Backyard Bigfoot. Okay. Now these are my labels. And I found these 2 weeks ago because we didn't have a show last week because John Malin was launching his Black Riding Hood, and I didn't want to stream against him. And I had to go late because we were babysitting that day. So I did no show last week. So this is kind of, this is stuff from 2 weeks ago. So I don't really remember these videos all that well, but I did label. There he is right there. Now, I kind of like this one. It's kind of long. It's not too shaky. It's, still blurry as heck, but there is it's a longer video. You get a little bit of movement, like maybe a Bigfoot might be, I don't know what that is. Is that a bush or is that I'm not sure what that is he's behind, but it looks like he's picking up something or maybe searching for something. Unaware that he's being filmed. See, there he ducks down behind it, and he comes back up and he stands, look, and then he walks off. So, and you can see there's a little bit of face right in there. This is actually one of the better videos because I think if Bigfoot is rummaging through your stuff in your backyard and he doesn't know that you're there filming him, then he would just kind of nonchalantly go about his Bigfoot business. And the fact that he's not just standing there, but he's actually sort of looks like he's doing something. I think I like this one. I think that the performance here is not bad at all. A little thought was put into this. Paul Taylor's saying he dropped his iPhone. He's trying to find it. That's probably Evil One says he's taking a dump. That's always the go-to, right? Oh, he's taking a dump. But he was standing for a long time before he bent down. So Moromi says it looks like a filter. Well, of course, that's the thing, right? They shoot these videos and they're really crystal clear, but so then they got to muddy them up to so they don't look as good. So you can't tell that that's their buddy in a costume. So, they filter through this on Photoshop or however else they do it. Milk Bike Wilson says, no, he's taking a leak. A guy in a black hood, reverse Klan. Says Creative Faye. Gemini Dragon says he's taking a 1 before taking a 2. Okay. But I'm not, as far as what we've seen recently, this is one of the better efforts. This is at least as good as that Dogman video. And I do like the fact that it's not just like a 3-second clip, that it's, 20 seconds of Bigfoot doing something. Like candid camera shots of Bigfoot, but you guys hiding behind his fence and he sees this and gets stealthy photography. So there you go. Again, could be Kelsey. Now, here, hang on a second. Robert Bearbill says just bad video compression, and they probably cropped the video in the post. Okay. But that again would blur it up, right? Which is the ultimate goal. And I say that because I've shown on this show the fake big dog man video that the guy did where it was just a dude in camouflage, hunting camouflage. And I've seen the original photography and it's really sharp and clear. And you can see it's a guy wearing a ghillie suit. And then they go in and, bump it up in production. They bump it up and blur it up so you can't really tell. That's just a common technique for Bigfoot hoaxers. Or habit, and this is true. It doesn't matter if any of these videos are real. What's important is the dad jokes we share along the way. Absolutely. Bigfoot is in the public domain, so I could do my own Bigfoot comic. Love that. Okay, this is, I can't remember if this is a good one or not. Bigfoot out for a walk. Okay, so let's take a look at the Bigfoot out for a walk and see. I don't even remember. Oh, yeah, baby. Look at, he is standing tall and walking proud. Finally, we get some clear video. Look at that gut. He is a beer drinking Bigfoot. Now the way he's walking is just like killing this. Oh, but I mean, I love this video because it's like, if we could have got what I think this is one of those elaborate Bigfoot costumes, like the beef jerky Bigfoot. And the guy's performance though is terrible. He's walking like, dude, yeah, man, I own this forest. And you can see he has a mask on. Like, where's the monkey? You can barely see it just for like a split second. You get a little bit of the face. Let's see where, right? Maybe it's on, yeah, right there. So you've got the hollow eyes there. It looks like, but look at, okay, come on. That is clearly a padded costume. Am I wrong? Am I misreading this? This is clear. Look at that gut. This is clearly a padded costume, isn't it? Evil One says Bigfoot walks like a pimp. Corey Landis again, peak Bigfoot sexy stride. Creative Face says that's computer generated. Do you really think so? Is that a guy in a costume? Mike Wilson says that looks good to me. He's an absolute believer. That's what peak performance looks like. Golem Wolf, I'll give them an F for effort. Well, okay, now hang on a second. The performance is bad, okay? But if that's a costume, and they got the, and it's like they're moving in the car, so it seems more like they just randomly saw, Bigfoot strolling along. War Habit says he looks like he's walking like he's in heels. Spaceman says that's a bad costume. Wait a minute. You don't like the Bigfoot beer gut on there? Are you kidding me? Gemini Dragon says I knew Mark Wade would let himself go. He's staying alive. That's Pimpfoot. I'd watch that movie. Woo! Oh, here we go. Art of Roy says the digital zoom is a dead giveaway to it being CGI. Okay, let's take a closer look at this then. Oh, right, like that? Yeah, because you couldn't do that on your phone, could you? Yeah, you couldn't. You'd have to have a movie camera, or you'd have to do it in. CGI, you can usually tell like around the feet how they're hitting the ground and stuff. If this is CGI, why didn't they give a better performance? And why did they give him a beer gut? But yeah, that digital zoom, that's a good point. I love this one, though. This is like one of my favorites. I mean, look at him, man. He's just like straight up and down. He's like, yeah, I'm going to find me a woman and another beer. Walking through the woods. He owns, as far as the eye can see, he owns it, baby. Art of Roy says you can zoom in on the phone, but it would be all over the place and out of focus. True. Excellent points. Moromi says stilt walking. I don't know. Not the way those knees are bending, I don't think. Paul Taylor, strutting with the beer gut. Exactly. But this, you guys got to admit, despite the poor performance, either digitally or by a actor in the suit, this is pretty good. This is one of the better ones we've had the pleasure of seeing. quite frankly. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think Pity Ma's husband is digging this one. I want to know what her mom thinks. Is she yelling, "No, it's fake. I know that guy. He lives next door." I love that. It's that clearing shot, man, where he's just like, "Yeah, baby, look at me." Yeah, look at him. He owns the road. Art of Roy says, watch Corridor Digital and get insight on how to make vids like this. Okay. All right. That's the thing with AI now. And we're going to see so much of this. It's like, it's going to escalate like crazy. Golem Wolf says, that's Santa in the off season. Oh my goodness sakes. All right. That's good stuff right there. All right, folks, that's all I got for you today. Thank you very much for joining me, you guys. Thank you for all the super chats. A lot of chattering, a lot of activity. Oh yeah, we already got that one. I own all the X from Evil One. I want to make sure I didn't skip his. All right, yeah, I got all the super chats, you guys. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for participating in the show. I could not do it without you, of course. And again, Wraith of God 3 is done, and we'll be going to the printer, very, very soon. So don't delay. Back today. The link is in the description of this video, along with a link to my website to get all back issues and original art and all sorts of fun things like that. Big Evil One for $2. Draw a Bigfoot pimp with a stogie in his mouth. I guess that's my next assignment for humor drawing. 4 new backers tonight, Randy Howell says. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that very much. And we'll see you guys. Well, definitely. I don't know about if I'm going to make tomorrow night or not on Kings. We'll see. Possibly. And Shelly and I just had our anniversary on Friday. And I bought some jewelry. So maybe I have to sell some artwork to pay for that. Anyway, thank you, guys. Tune in next week right here on Aaron Live, where we may actually be doing a closeout stream. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe. We'll see you soon right here on Aaron Live. Good night, everybody.